Messi keeps proving he's still king. Inter Miami are the revelation team of this Club World Cup. Now, the big question: Inter Miami versus PSG. What now? Meanwhile, the Brazilian teams have dominated the group stages. Will the dominance continue? Welcome to the recap. How great is Messi leading in Inter Miami that even die-hard Messi fans thought would be near to impossible to advance from the group stages?
I don't think anybody was doubting them. They got a pretty easy group. I saw them coming out in first place. Thought FIFA would give them a little hand to help them advance.
You think their group was easy? You have Palmeiras, Inter Miami, Porto, and Al Hilal. Maybe Al Hilal in the bottom, Inter next, but you have Palmeiras and Porto, who in theory should have been the teams that went through to the next round.
Palmeiras did, surprisingly well. They ended up in first place. And Porto, yeah, I guess you could have expected them to make some noise, but they're not a high level club. They're in the champions, but they're coming from an easier league. But Inter had a really good shot at advancing, and they did it. They got the job done.
I actually want to see the odds. I didn't see them before the tournament started. I wanted to see the odds to see if Inter Miami was one of the favorites in the group to pass. Messi's Inter Miami's road to the Club World Cup final, is it coming to an immediate halt as they face the Champions League champions PSG in a knockout stages?
They should not televise what's coming.
You think it's going to be a murder?
If PSG's taking this tournament seriously like other clubs are, they should just dominate Inter Miami. Something like what Bayern was doing to Auckland City. Like it should be really ugly.
PSG should easily take this. Maybe if they were easily able to beat Inter Milan, they should be able to beat Inter Miami. Here for player teams, Messi is playing with retired players or about to retire players, while you have key players for every national team in the PSG squad.
This is Canelo Alvarez versus the guy from my local gym. It's gonna be bad.
You think it's going to be like a 8-1, 9-1, 10-0?
Give it a 6-1, 5-1 to PSG.
Give them 0 chance for
Yeah,
Inter Miami
0,
to move on.
0.
Look, I don't want to be that guy, but if there's one guy that can do it,
It is
it's
Cristiano
him.
Ronaldo.
It no, if Messi's Inter Miami versus PSG pull up the biggest upset in world sports history, what do we say? What do we do? What is life?
Well, we already said it. Messi wins it's the Ballon d'Or guaranteed. Nuno Mendes,
Wouldn't this be the
Dembele, nobody
biggest
stand a
upset?
chance. Yeah, this would be
This
a
would be the
huge
biggest upset.
upset. Yeah, this would be an insane upset.
It'd be super crazy, but if one man can do it, it would be Messi. Even 38 years of age, it seems nearly impossible. I wouldn't give him like 1%, but then you have Messi in your team, so you get that 1%. And if every player can play like the Argentinian players play for Messi, they all play for Messi, they run for Messi, I give him a 3%, but I still see it hard. But if one man can do it, it's the man, the Argentinian man. Not Cristiano Ronaldo, the Argentinian man.
I do not believe in them at all. No.
Inter Miami conceded 2 late goals against Palmeiras. This meant that they wouldn't face the only Brazilian team that was not in first place in their group. Brazilian teams dominated the Club World Cup group stages. Where did that come from?
Their conditions growing up, you're playing in some pretty rough field. You're not really pampered growing up. Then the heat is pretty similar, the humidity is pretty similar. They're really built for this. It's not affecting them as bad as the Europeans. Europeans, they're used to these very luxurious stadiums. Their fields are taken care of very good. It's not what Europeans are used to, and I think it's affecting them a little bit. Luis Enrique, even though they won, he's on the press conference complaining about the fields, the training grounds, just everything. And I think it's showing a little bit with these South American and American and Mexican teams. It's not affecting them as badly.
But that's the beauty about a World Cup. You go to a neutral place for most. and you have neutral conditions with the weather, stadiums, grass. You are right though. Some teams are more accustomed to it, like the South Americans, where it's very humid, it's hot. So this to them is like their backyard, especially the way that they bring their fans, man.
Those Brazilian fans, they show up for their teams. You know, those Argentinians, they show up, and it's a great atmosphere in those games. I'm not even gonna lie.
In the knockout stages, Brazilian teams have interesting matchups. An all Brazilian matchup between Palmeiras and Botafogo, Flamengo versus Bayern, and Fluminense versus River Plate, Inter, or Monterrey. Flamengo versus Bayern, is that the most interesting matchup for a Brazilian side in the knockout stages?
It's gonna be a good game. There shouldn't be any blowouts besides that Inter Miami game. I'm pretty excited for these knockout stages, but I needed a River Plate versus Boca Junior game, and FIFA needed this. Rig it, do whatever you got to do, set it up.
Well,
But
Boca's out. Boca's
yeah,
out.
we needed that.
Yeah. If you saw Bayern, they lost their last game. Do you think this is where the European side step up? We've been treating this kind of like a preseason. The weather has been affecting us, but now you've been on US soil for a good amount of time, getting accustomed to the weather. Is this where they step it up and we should see a really good match between Flamengo and Bayern?
It'll be closer than expected, but I think Bayern should still be able to pull this off pretty easily.
So you're giving Bayern the nod on this one.
I'm gonna give them an edge just off the quality of players that they have available.
Imagine a Flamengo versus River Plate matchup. This would be the flagship game of the tournament. Unfortunately, it's being hosted in the Mercedes-Benz Arena, but you put this game at the Rose Bowl, 7 p.m. night. On the left hand, you have the Brazilians. On the right hand, you have the Argentinians. Sparklers, flares, a full 90-minute unmatched atmosphere. What a match that would have been in a stadium like that.
I think, being in Atlanta is going to be very solid, very good, well run airport. It's easy to travel here, and the stadium is just around a couple minutes away. Fans will show up. I think it'll be a very great atmosphere in this game.
Imagine it is a Flamengo versus River Plate. You put it in a stadium that's outside where you're not allowed flares, but you can actually flare it up. At the Benz, you can't do that. It's an inside dome. So you put them in Pasadena, where the temperature at night is perfect. In this Club World Cup tournament, the greatest fans have been the Brazilians and the Argentinians. Nobody comes close to them. So just imagine that atmosphere, chants back and forth for the full 90 minutes. They had a good game on the field, too.
Honorable mention to all my Madridistas. They sold out that Sunday game in
It's
Charlotte.
true.
It was amazing. All these people that showed up for Madrid.
We do have that all Brazilian matchup. Our all Brazilian World Cup clashes, is that a good or a bad thing for the tournament?
The fans, they create a great game. They're not quiet. There's cheering, there's music, it's noisy, it's loud. And Brazilians are accustomed to this. You watch their tournaments and they get very lit, and I think it's exciting.
It doesn't matter. It's not like you can actually handpick what teams you put in what spot so you don't crash. But overall, I'm excited for this tournament. I'm excited for the knockout stages. Manny, anything you want to say before we bounce, man?
Let's just hope for some good matches. I
Great.
don't want to see no blowouts. I want to see good, entertaining football.
Oh, so you don't want PSG to blow out Inter Miami.
Nah, just score 2, 3 goals and sub everybody out.
Well, hopefully you enjoy this video. If you do, make sure to like, share, subscribe. Make sure to send this to anybody, and I mean anybody with zero or some ball knowledge. Make sure to catch us on TikTok. We get heat all the time on TikTok, but we love it. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Send this to anybody. Woo! See you here next video.